Hello, everybody. This is Eliakim Cohen back with a really powerful episode of Shiurim by the Sea. Today's topic is that I do not believe in God. I do not believe in God. All my sponsors are like, oh my gosh, you've been a heretic the whole time? No, I don't believe in God because I know that there's a God. Today's topic is the knowledge of God. Hashem never once says to believe in him. He says that you shall know that I'm the Lord your God. So we're going to dive into the nuance between believing and knowing. I believe that my favorite college football team can win the championship this year. I do not know that they will do that. There's a massive difference between believing and knowing. And by the end of this, I'm going to ask you to look yourself in the mirror and to ask yourself, do you know that there's a God? Because the logical next step is that if you know that there's a God and you are not following the Torah, that is the most illogical conclusion that one could possibly make in this world. This lecture is just bomb. B-O-M-B. You know, I'm teaching my son how to read now. So every day on the way to school, we started a few weeks ago with 3-letter words. Now, Baruch Hashem, B'lei Hara, we're on 7-letter words today. So I tell him, 7-letter word is no different than a 3-letter word. You just make them like 2 separate words, and then I tell him that they're like parts of a sandwich, and then we put the sandwich together. So B-O-M-B would B-A-M-B, bomb. English is a really stupid language. But speaking of bombs, Israel again bombed. Have you noticed that Gaza seems to have just a plethora, one of my favorite words, a plethora of hospitals? For a little tiny strip, it's called the Gaza Strip. It's not a large place. It seems like every other building is either a school or a hospital. You'd think that these are the healthiest, most educated people in the world. Yet they're just like subhuman animals. So what's going on here? Well, the problem is that every time we bomb a hospital, we apologize. You don't apologize for destroying your enemies. And like I always say, when people say to me, well, there could have been an innocent civilian. Show me the face of this innocent civilian on October 7th, 2023, and then get back to me. There was actually a liberal reporter that walked into Gaza, and he did, it was either he or she, I can't remember I remember the statistic. He asked 100 people, like Family Feud. Top 100 answers of it. He asked 100 people, if you knew now what you knew on October 6th, would you still hope that October 7th happened? Every single one of them said yes. They have a knowledge that they live their whole life knowing that the ikar of their being is to kill the Jews. We don't have that type knowledge. And that's why we've had 3,337 years of folly. Jewish history is total folly. We've had such King David, King Solomon, Hillel, Rabbi Akiva. We have such amazing. Just look at the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu. We had Moshe Rabbeinu. We literally. We'll talk about this later. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but this lecture is so powerful because we just entered the month of Elul. We exited Av, which is a very sort of a downer month, it's Tisha B'Av, and then the last half of the month is actually Tu B'Av. It's a beautiful, but now we're in Elul. I just did an amazing lecture. It's on my wall. I'm wearing a yellow tie on Elul. Elul is the last month of the year, and Elul is Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. That's Rosh Tevos Elul. This is the courtship of the Jewish people and Hashem. Every year there's a renewed courtship between the Jewish people and Hashem. Hashem basically asks us to marry us Rosh Hashanah night. We say yes, Rosh Hashanah morning. The wedding is Yom Kippur. Sukkot is the celebration. And what's Shemini Atzeres? The consummation. You have to go back and watch the lecture on my wall about Shemini Atzeres. It will blow you away. Everything in the world revolves around the Jewish people's relationship to Hashem. You can't have a relationship if you don't know the other side. I mean, we'll talk about this in a minute. The first consummation in the Torah is Adam and Chava. And it doesn't say that Adam came to Chava like it says almost every other time. It says that Adam knew Chava. So there's something to glean from that. Before we talk about that, this lecture is sponsored by my dear friend Lisa. This is now Lisa's 48th sponsorship in the last 6 months. So do 48 out of like 180. That's almost like one every 3.5 days. Why? Because Lisa understands. She knows. Lisa doesn't believe that the Torah is important. Lisa knows that the Torah is important. 48 lectures. So, just been getting unbelievable feedback and suggestions. The sponsors have suggested that do like a more intimate, like class, basically. This is just a lecture. You can see it anywhere on social media. To do more like a class. I've never done that before, but I'd love to. So I'm going to. Emir Tashem. When I get back from New York, I'm leaving New York, God willing, October 16th, right after Shemini Atzeres. I'm coming back, and I'm starting something called Torah Emes. Why do I call it Torah Emes? Because Torah is Emes, meaning truth. Also, my great-grandparents founded a yeshiva in Brooklyn, which still exists to this day, called Torah Emes. So it's like an ode to them. So all my sponsors that sponsor one lecture a month, which is, Baruch Hashem, lots of them. I mean, people have already signed up for this. We will be doing 2 lectures a month at a minimum. I'm hoping it could be more. But we'll see how the time works for everybody. And we are just my goal is to get a group of people together that just have this fire. Because you can't watch my lectures. You know, I'm not giving lectures that people say, oh, you know, that's interesting. Like they look like a geology class in college. I'm not interested in you come, oh, that's cool. Like there's a blue rock somewhere in, Zimbabwe. That's interesting. I'm not interested that you think that the lectures are interesting. I mean, no offense, but I know that they're interesting. The goal is to get you to know the information and then to do. This is like proactive type lectures. The goal is that people watch this and they're just, the truth is so clear. The knowledge of God is so clear that you cannot possibly think differently than I do. I mean, that's the goal of this. This is how I started out with my rabbi. We're going to talk about this in a minute. So, if anyone out there would like to use their tzedakah money for a positive purpose and not just give to causes that give you virtually no merit, or a lot of people out there, you're not giving tzedakah at all. You have to give minimum 10%. 10% of your money is not yours, it's Hashem's. You're like a custodian for the money. You get the merit for choosing what to give that to. If you're not giving 10% of your money to tzedakah, you're doing a very, very big sin. It's a very big crime in Judaism. So the people that are sponsoring one lecture a month, we're going to start doing, starting like 3rd, 4th week of October, a Zoom class for an hour, minimum an hour, 2 times a month for anyone that's sponsoring a lecture. And then you also get the other lecture. So a lot of people expressed interest in this. People have already signed up. I'm hoping to get 15 to 20 people. If I can get 15 to 20 consistent lectures a month, I can basically focus on this full-time, full bore, and not have to worry about anything else in life. Because to be honest, I don't want to worry about anything else in life. The only thing that matters is spreading the Torah. And not everyone's able to do it. Some people have to work, a 12-hour day. Some people have to do this. Some people have, they're not able. I'm at a point in my life where I'm able to do this, and I want to maximize it. And people are helping me maximize it, and I want to reward them. And if you would see, sometimes I read what people say just because it's so beautiful. But if you would see the messages, first of all, Malka Roos just put on Facebook that she just bought Ein Yaakov. I've been posting, every time I finish Ein Yaakov, I'm on my 22nd time reading Ein Yaakov. If you see the book Ein Yaakov, you'll realize why 22 times is a lot. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm literally saying this so that you go out and buy Ein Yaakov. Ein Yaakov is 803 pages, very little writing, of all of it's called the Agadata of the Gemara, meaning the ethical and moral teachings, like the fun stories. It's just a mind-blowing book. So I read it one time and I'm like, okay, I just want to do this forever. So my goal in life is to read this 101 times. I'm now on 22. The fastest I've ever read the book is 18 days. When you see the book, you'll understand that 803 pages, it's not like reading a Hardy Boys book. This is an extensive book. It literally encompasses 1/3 of the entire Talmud is Agadata. Lisa, the sponsor, she went out and bought it the other day. She also sent me a new copy because my copy literally was falling apart. I told her, please don't do that. You don't have to do that. She said, I'm sending it to you. So I did a lecture for her yesterday because of that. Marco Russo went out about it, and I hope you will too. And if you're wondering, okay, which version do I get? Message me. I keep telling people, this is like an interactive message me. I want to be your tool. I'm not a tool. I want to be your tool. I want to be you have a question, you're lost on something, just message me. If I don't know the answer, and it's a good chance that I won't, I will try to find it for you. And if I can't, I will throw you off on someone that I know that knows it. When I was first starting out 17 years ago, and there was this woman, I mentioned her in the story the other day. She was the one that ended up converting, but then found out she was adopted and was Jewish. So she would just message me these like powerful questions about, why Judaism is true and not Christianity. I told her, like, if you have a brain, you can figure that out yourself. But she wanted concrete stuff. So some of the questions she asked, I was just starting out. So I didn't want to give her, like, I knew I had a big fish on the hook here. Because again, I wasn't trying to convert her to Jew. We don't convert Jews, but I wanted to show her the truth. Emes is Hashem's seal. I would ask Rabbi Tovia Singer. I'm not ashamed to admit, if I don't know something, I'm not going to claim that I know it. I will find the person that knows it, and I'll get the answer for you. Message me. It's Elul. It's the time that we need to start what? It's an entire month of courtship so that we can what? Know that there's a God. We do not believe in God. Christians believe in blind faith. They say this over and over again. I was in yeshiva with so many people that converted from Christianity, and they said the same things over and over again. They would ask their priest or their pastors or whatever they call them, ministers, and we just believe. We don't believe in Judaism. It's a crime to not know in Judaism. Okay? You have to understand this. I don't believe in God. I know that there's a God. There is a huge difference. And at the end of this lecture, you need to literally walk in front of a mirror, look at yourself in the face, and ask yourself, do I believe in God or do I know that there's a God? And if you want to claim that you know that there's a God, and then you're not keeping Shabbos, you're not eating kosher, you're not learning Torah, then you're a liar. You are an absolute bald-faced liar, and that is what you should be focusing on for the next, what are we at now, like 28 days before Rosh Hashanah. This lecture, literally, I always say that every lecture can change your life. And I don't just say this stam, because I gear these lectures to the hopes that one new person is watching each lecture, and this particular person Hashem gives him the merit, or she, to watch the lecture, because A, they're searching for truth, B, they're about to leave Judaism, and like this lecture could, be like their life raft. They're not Jewish, and they're just like floundering, and they want to know the truth. These lectures are pekuach nefesh. These lectures are life-saving. This lecture in particular could change the way that you view your entire life and the way that you live it. And what your end will eventually be, God willing. So Lisa sponsored this lecture for the parents of her beloved Zadie Chami. She said she doesn't know so much about the parents. She said he must have lost his father early because her grandfather was on the streets of Poland with his mother at age 5. It's sad. It's really sad. He grew up really tough and started the first Jewish gang in Poland. I love these stories. He brought his 3 brothers and their wives to Toronto. He suffered so much anti-Semitism both in Toronto and in Poland. So this is for Lisa's great grandparents. That hits me like extra hard because I'm named after my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather's name was Alter Eliakim Getzel. His name was Eliakim Getzel. He was very sick. I think he had polio maybe when he was very young, so they added a name. In Judaism, you add a name. Why? Because you can change your mazel, because Jews are above mazel, meaning, like the Gentiles are very into horoscopes and like the moon is in the summertime and Mercury and, whatever that song is, the age of Aquarius. We're not governed by the mazlos and the skies. We as Jews can overcome our mazel. We could be born with a derech that we should have achieved this, or we should have done this, or this was supposed to happen to us, and we can change it. It's all over the Torah, all over the Talmud. How do we get to that point? Because we know that there's a God and we act accordingly. That's literally the crux of this entire lecture. Knowing that there's a God. People always say, Eliakim, I believe in God. Okay, that's nothing. And then some people have the gall to tell me that they know that there's a God. And I tell them, okay. And again, I didn't grow up religious. I became religious at 27. So I'm not condemning people that don't know this stuff yet. I'm condemning illogical and evil statements. You can't tell me that you know that there's a God, but you don't follow any of his Torah. That's very evil. If you said, okay, well, I know that these are my parents, but I don't follow any of their rules, then you're an evil child. If you work at a company and you know that there's company policy, but you don't care about it, that you're an evil employee. If you go to class and the teacher tells you, this is what we're focusing on this semester, this is the syllabus, and you just ignore it, you're an evil student. The goal at the end of this lecture is you will see that when Hashem tells us to know that he exists, to know that there's a God, that it's a process. It's not it's not something that happens instantaneously. And this is going to be the crux of the lecture. This is a lifelong process of knowing Hashem. And the more you know Hashem, the more it's impossible not to act accordingly. Okay. Now, you're driving on the road. You're going 150 miles per hour in a 30. You're going literally 5 times the legal limit. If you know that there's a cop, you're on your Waze or whatever, and Waze says, police officer up ahead, 3/4 of a mile up the road. You're going 150 in a 30, which unfortunately a lot of people do. Before you get 3/4 of the way up the road, what do normal people do? Does the normal person keep going 150 knowing that Waze says that there's a cop 3/4 of a mile up the road? Or do they slow down? Do for another, 15 seconds they're doing 150, then they slow down to 30. Why? They don't want to get a ticket. Not many sane people. I literally became religious because of a high-speed car chase. I literally was driving on the wrong side of the road. I was not in my right mind. I was not thinking clearly. That was a stupid, idiot, demented thing to do. So I'm not talking about people that are on drugs or people that are mentally sick. I'm talking about normal people that have the ability to rationalize and draw conclusions. If you know that there's a police officer 3/4 of a mile up the road and you're doing 5 times the legal limit, what do you do before you hit the police officer? Every single one of you would slow down. Why? Because you know that there's a consequence ahead. Okay? Keep that in mind for the lecture. Again, what we do in these lectures, because they're usually between an hour and 20 minutes and like an hour and 40 minutes, we just throw out puzzle pieces, and by the end, we like to tie it all up in a pretty bow. So speaking of my high-speed car chase, I came out of jail. I started learning Torah every Monday afternoon with a rabbi in Atlanta, Rabbi Friedman. The first question that I asked him, literally is the crux of this entire lecture. And if I didn't ask my rabbi this question, I don't think I ever would have gotten to the point I am now. Certainly not with as much vigor and fire and it gets me to this point before I even get to that. Rabbi Shmuel says, "He who learns Torah in order to teach, it's granted to him to study and to teach. But he who learns in order to practice, it's granted to him to learn, to teach, and to practice." And that's what we're trying to do here. And all of this goes back to this one particular rabbi. All of the credit for everything goes back to this one wonderful rabbi. Sat down with him in Atlanta, Georgia. The first question I asked him was this: "Rabbi, why do you live like this?" He's got the black hat on and the suit, and I'm sitting there, and I was working at the time, so probably I was in nice khaki pants and a button-down shirt. I said, "Rabbi, why do you live like this?" He said, "Because only God could have given the Jewish people the Torah. When you can prove this yourself, you'll live exactly like I do." There's some times in your life where you feel like Hashem just... We did the whole lecture the other day on Bilam's donkey talking. How did Bilam's donkey talk? Hashem literally just put the words in Bilam's donkey's mouth. There's a few times in life where you feel like Hashem just... It was like he was operating puppets. The exact thing that I needed to hear is what this beloved rabbi said. And this has been the foundation for how I view Judaism and how I interact with Judaism ever since. He gave the most just fundamental, like a skyscraper. I always like to talk about skyscrapers. So I say that different elements are like an elevator getting up to the having faith in Hashem, having, belief in Hashem is what's a skyscraper built on? Knowledge. Judaism is built on the knowledge of Hashem. The crux of Judaism is the knowledge of Hashem. Again, we're going to go through the Pesukim. Hashem literally says himself, "So that you shall know that I am the Lord your God." He doesn't say to believe. He doesn't say to think that it's a probability. He says to know. My rabbi told me when you can prove yourself that Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, you'll live like I do. It's exactly what I said at the beginning of the lecture. If you know that there's a God, it is impossible to live a non-Torah observant lifestyle. It's impossible. What do we say when we say the Shema? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What does that say? What do we say? Listen, Israel. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one. What does that mean? What does it mean he's one? It means that Hashem is the start of nothing exists in this world. We are extensions of God. You see, I'm looking at a chair in front of me. I'm looking at bar stools. I'm looking at flowers that we bought my mom for Shabbos. I'm looking at my grandparents' lamp. These things exist because Hashem wills them to exist. These are extension. Everything in the world is an extension of Hashem. Hashem is one. There was nothing in this world before Hashem created it. People say, try to think of nothing. And people shut their eyes and they think of like a dark room. Well, a dark room is something. You have a cognizance, you have you know what a dark room looks like. That's not nothing, that's a dark room. We say that Hashem created the world out of nothing. We have no concept of what nothing is. Be like, oh, I was in this like big freezer one time and it was empty. That's nothing. No, it's an empty freezer. Hashem is one. Everything is an extension of Hashem. Rav David Aron from the Old City, he says something beautiful, that basically Hashem is like a musical instrument and everything in the world is like the notes. Like you hear these sounds and that's us. That's the refrigerator. That's the door, the picture on the wall. But Hashem is the instrument. Nothing comes about without Hashem. Where's the first time we see this thing about knowledge in the Torah? It's very interesting. We were talking about this the other day. Adam knew his wife, Chava. Adam yada es Chava. Yada. He knew. What was that? Again, I do the same joke every time. This is the first consummation of like a relationship that a child is born out of. This is the first relations in the Torah. And it says Adam knew his wife. Usually it says like so-and-so came to his wife and they conceived. Bill Clinton did not say, I did not have knowledgeable relations with that woman. He didn't say that. What is knowing? We talked about Yaakov went down at night thinking it was Rachel. Behold, it was Leah. He did not know. He thought he was with a different woman. And we saw the consequences of this. Go back and watch that lecture. We saw that the first 3 children that came from Leah, none of them have a chelik in Israel. None of them have a portion in Israel proper. Knowledge is something so what's the Torah telling us with this first pasuk? This isn't like the ikar of the lecture, but it's important. Adam knew his wife, they joined together, and something came out of it. Okay? Now, you go through the entire story of creation. There's one unique thing in creation. There's animals, okay? Every animal is the same. They're all on autopilot. Whether it's an ant, a spider, a monkey, an elephant, they have no intellectual capacity like the human being. You then have angels. What's an angel? An angel is basically a divine, I don't want to like insult angels, but they're like a divine robot. Why? For like a good reason. They have such a knowledge of Hashem that they have no free will. Animals have no free will because they're just basically on autopilot. They're just, do you ever see a lion? He's just about to eat a zebra and then he says, gosh, you know what? This zebra's girlfriend just left him. His pickup truck just broke down. His guitar just got untuned. Like every country song. You know what? I'm hungry, but I'm going to let this zebra go. This zebra's just going through a lot, Maybe I'll give him a I'll give them a pass this one time. You don't see a lion doing that. They have no bechira. Do angels have bechira? No. Angels are extensions of Hashem. They see Hashem so clearly, they have no ability to disobey. Human beings are stuck in the middle. There's something unique. Again, we're talking about knowledge of God. So the first thing about knowledge of God is first we have to know who we are. So again, there are like billions of different animals in this world. They're all the same. You'll say, oh, this one's like the monkey's more advanced than the ant. Fine. They're all the same. Okay? They don't have the abilities that the human being has. The angels, they're on such a higher level than us, but in some ways they're not. Why? They have no free will. They have no bechira. Animals have no intellectual capacity to recognize God. Angels have nothing but intellectual capacity to recognize God. Angels have no free will. Neither do animals. Human beings are in the middle. We have free will to potentially recognize Hashem. What's the proof of this? Very, very famous Gemara. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to receive the Torah. The angels wanted it for themselves. Moshe replied to them, what do you need the Torah for? Do you have parents? Do you have a Yetzer Hara? Do you have any ability to disobey God? Do you have any ability to follow a different path other than God? Do you have the ability to choose? No. So what do you need the Torah for? And the angel's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. The source of Avodah Zarah, like idolatry, comes from the misconceptions that angels have free will. Angels have no free will. Why? Because angels are like the car driving on the road that boop, boop, Waze says, or whatever your GPS says, police officer, 750, yards up the road, or whatever it's called, 3.4 miles up the road. Every person that's not mentally ill, that still has bechira, presses on their brakes and they slow down. Every single one. Unless you are mentally sick, meaning you're not in charge of your own capacities, or you're like me, stupid idiot, high on drugs, going down the wrong side of the road. Every single person, when they see a police officer, your heart races and you slow down. Every single time. Angels don't have that. Angels, that's basically how angels live. They don't have free will. They have such a clear conception of God. They have zero ability to disobey. Animals have zero ability to recognize God. That's not how they were created. We're in between. We have the ability to recognize God, but you have to put in effort. We also have free will. We're like this sandwich in the middle of an animal that just is on autopilot and has zero ability to recognize God and zero ability to critically think, and angels that are almost the same because they're on such a high level. They have such a clear connection to Hashem. They have zero free will to disobey. And then there's us. And that's how we're going to start the lecture. The first step in a human being recognizing why they're created, how they were created, what the purpose of creation is just to recognize at the ground zero, before ground zero even, the uniqueness of just the human being. There's something very unique about the human being in creation. I mean, I took over a 3-hour walk today. I listened to, I think, either 3 or 4 lectures. So as I'm walking, I saw a little crab on the road. I saw fish in the sea. I saw lizards literally everywhere, mosquitoes, dozens of creations I saw. Saw a couple people walking. The dozens of creations that I saw, the bees, the hornet that I saw on the ground, the crab, they're all the same. I mean, they look different. They all, this one has 6 legs, this one has 2 legs, this one has wings, but they're all the same. They have zero ability to have free will and critically think. And then I saw a few humans walking. I didn't see any angels. That I didn't see. But there's something unique about the human being. That alone, I mean, again, people live their whole life. People live 70, 80, 90 years, and not one time they'll ever say, you know what, it's odd. I went to the zoo the other day, and I saw all these animals, and you know what? Like in the cartoons, scratching your head. You know what? It's actually a little bit interesting. Every animal is basically the same. The monkey was lounging, the tiger was lounging, the lion was lounging, the cheetah was lounging, the toucan was lounging. They're all just sitting there. They're all basically the same. They look different. This one has different colors. This one's got spots. This one's taller. This one's got a big nose. But they're all the exact same. Yet me walking through the zoo is different. Go to a zoo one time. After you watch this lecture, I mean, I don't tell people to do things that aren't like Torah related, but this will be so helpful for you. Go out tomorrow and just go to the zoo after watching this lecture. Go to a zoo and just say, you know what? Eliakim's right. Every of the hundreds of creatures I saw here, they're basically all the same. We think they're different because, stepping on an ant and then seeing an elephant killed, it's like two totally different reactions. But they're the same thing. They're literally the same entity. We are so unique, we don't even care. We don't even acknowledge it. Now, where does Hashem tell us to know? Let's just get to that. Shemos. They will know that I, the Lord, am their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, in order that I might dwell in their midst. I am the Lord their God. They will know that I, the Lord, am their God. I always tell you order is important, and words are even more important. Hashem did not say, they shall trust that I am the God. They shall believe. They shall infer. They shall suppose. They shall know. They shall know that I am the Lord their God. But what did he add on? Who brought them out of the land of Egypt. Almost any time there's knowledge, there's always something to do with Egypt. Okay? Now, Parshas V'eschanan, which we just did a few weeks ago, Hashem again is alluding to the knowledge. Okay? What does he say? Did ever people hear God's voice speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? Or has any God performed miracles to come and take a nation from the midst of another nation, with trials and with signs, with wonders, with war, with a strong hand, with an outstretched arm, and with great and awesome deeds, as the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? You have been shown in order to know that the Lord, he is God, there is no one else besides him. Then there's a pasuk that will be the crux of this entire lecture. Ata haresa lada'as. Ki Hashem hu Elokim ein od milvado. Ein od milvado, you see this on bumper stickers in Israel. What does it mean? That there's no one but God. There's nothing besides God. God literally is everything. Again, God is like the instrument, and everything that flows out of all the beautiful sounds come from this instrument. Hashem is one. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He's one. Ata haresa ladas. What does that mean? Hashem says, you have been shown. Ata haresa, you've been shown. Ladas, in order to know. What? I've been shown in order to know. What have I been shown? Ata haresa ladas. I mean, literally, this is, you don't like to say that things in the Torah are more. This could potentially be the three most important words in the entire Torah. Ata haresa ladas. You've been shown in order that you know. But ladas is a verb. Right? So when I tell you to jump, what does that mean? You have to do things in order to jump. You don't just, I don't tell you to jump and automatically, like a robot, you just, the second you hear the word jump, you have to do things to jump. You bend down, you jump up. It's a process, right? Ata haresa, you've been shown. What have we been shown? Ladas, in order to know. This is, again, I'm gonna repeat it again because you have to understand. Pause it. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, pause it so you understand these three words. These three words potentially are the three most important words in the entire Torah, in my opinion. I mean, not that that matters, but in my opinion. Because again, believing in something and knowing something are literally 180-degree opposites. They're not even close. They're not even on the same, Ata, you, haresa, have been shown. What have you been shown? Ladas. You've been shown something to know. Now, what have we been shown? The Targum says, when the Holy One, blessed be He, gave the Torah, He opened for Israel the seven heavens. And just as He tore open the upper regions, so did He tear open the lower regions. And they saw that He is one. Accordingly, it is stated, you have been shown in order to know, meaning that there's nothing besides Hashem. What? Hashem tore open the upper regions. And then we saw that He's one. Okay. What does that mean? Here's what it means. The Rambam says that the pillar of all wisdom is to know that everything only exists because God exists. We need to know, not believe. The first commandment is, I am Hashem, your God. Rambam interprets this as a mitzvah to know God, requiring an understanding of His existence and His nature. So what's the showing? Lada'as. We've been shown in order to know. What have we been shown? What were we shown up until we were given the Torah? Let's see. We were in Egypt. We saw 10 plagues. Then we saw the sea split. Then we saw the giving of the Torah, which literally was the most mind-blowing, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. What are we seeing from this? We were given puzzle pieces. We were given clues. What did my rabbi say to me when I got out of jail? Rabbi, why do you live like this? You seem to live a very constricting lifestyle. Why? Because once you can prove that Hashem gave the Jewish people the Torah, you'll live exactly like I do. That's what Rabbi Friedman told me. When you prove something, you know it. Do you not? What's the Rambam saying? I am Hashem, your God. Meaning, the first step in everything is the knowledge of God. If you don't know that there's a God, you're going to be totally clueless with everything else in life. How do we know? Lada'as. To know. It's a verb. It's not das, it's lada'as. How do you know things in life? I mean, how do I know that if I tip this cup over, water's going to spill out? I've done it before. I know that there's something called gravity. Trial and error, experiment. You've seen it once, you've seen it twice. How do you know things in this world? If I tell you, I ask a woman, do you know your son? How do you know that this is your son? I was pregnant for 10 months. I literally saw him come out of me. We just did a DNA test. Das. La das. No. That's steps towards das, towards knowledge. Again, these three words. Ata, haresa, la da'as. You've been shown. Hashem's saying, I showed you all you need to know, to then know me. Basically, you've been warned. Anyone watching this that's not keeping Torah, ata haresa lada'as. There's nothing in your life that has ever prevented you from knowing Hashem. You've chosen not to know Hashem so that you don't have to follow Hashem. Ladas, you saw the miracles, you saw the plagues, you saw the splitting of the sea, you saw the giving of the Torah, you saw all the things Hashem did in the desert, you saw the prophecies coming true. Israel will be expelled from the land, Israel is going to come back. All these different things. You chose to sleep. The Sforno says that lada'as is a verb, so that you shall contemplate and conclude that Hashem is one, that Hashem is the creator, that you have assembled the puzzle pieces that Hashem has given you. I hope this is scary for people watching this that are not keeping the Torah. You have no alibi. You have no excuse. Ata haresa, you've been shown. You're a doctor. Oh, I wasn't an Orthodox Jew. I was a doctor. You know so much about the human body and you're so stupid that you can't see that a divine creator created the human body? 2 million things that make the eye work, 190 trillion connections in the brain. Oh, I'm a doctor. I wasn't an Orthodox Jew. Hashem's going to say, you're even dumber than anyone else. You saw my perfect human body, you idiot, after 70 years of performing brain surgery, of looking at CT scans. You saw this perfect creation of a human being that I made, and you did not ladas? I'm a biologist. I know more about biology. You know about biology and you can't see the perfect biological everything Hashem instilled in the world? You did not ladas. Ata haresa ladas not only is the most simple, it's also the most scary. Because Hashem, this is like a warning from Hashem. I've already shown you. You ever looked in the mirror? If you've looked in the mirror one time in your life, you've never said, it's actually interesting. I got 2 eyes on opposite sides. I got 2 ears. I've got a mouth. I've got 2 hands. That's odd. And so does my friend and my other friend. It's sort of strange. So does that lady down the street. Isn't it weird that, men and women get together, they have babies, but also a male and female cheetah get together and a male and female ant get together? you know what? Maybe I could delve a little bit more into creation, isn't that unusual? Like, okay, I'm past the point of thinking that the world was created randomly. You don't want to take it a step further? Lada'as, you don't want to, it's a verb, people. It's 4-0 saying, the Rambam saying it's a verb. Ata haresa. I've given you every clue. How do we know that OJ committed murder? Do we have a video of OJ committing murder? No. Do we have a video of God? No. But how do we know that OJ committed murder? Let's see. How do we know that someone committed murder when we don't have a video? Okay, well, let's see. What if we had 3.5 million people that attested to this murder? Okay, well, we have 3.5 million people that attested. We're the only religion in the entire world that had a mass revelation. Okay, so 3.5 million people said that Hashem spoke on Mount Sinai. Clearly, I would think it's very hard to fake 3.5 million people. In the Torah, you need 2 witnesses. We had 3.5 million witnesses. So how do we know that someone committed murder if we don't have a video? Okay, well, this person's DNA was splashed everywhere. On his clothes, he has all the blood of the victim. His phone GPS was literally at this exact location at that time. There's blood all over the car. The knife that was used was just a knife that he bought 2 weeks ago out, what's that store called? The Great Outdoors? Whatever it's called, who cares? Again, how do we have knowledge? How do we have da'as that someone committed murder if we don't have a video? We just have so many clues that it's as if we have a video. So what's Hashem saying? Ata haresa. I gave you everything. You have no excuses, people. You know how many times people tell me, oh, well, I don't do that because, I'm not Orthodox. I didn't grow up Orthodox. There's no such thing as Orthodox. There's either following Hashem or not following Hashem. Ata haresa. You've been given every possible clue. You chose your whole life not to put the puzzle together. I see this with my son now. 3 weeks ago, he didn't, again, son was born in Israel. He knew English great, but he didn't know any English letters or anything. So a few weeks ago, Baruch Hashem started doing, like a month and a half ago, started doing the letters. A few weeks ago, we started sounding out the letters. 3 weeks ago, we were on 3-letter words. Today, Baruch Hashem, we did a 7-letter word. Why? Because he's been given all the clues. He is now doing what? Today, we did kingdom. K-E-N-G. D-A-M. Kingdom. Why? He has every clue in front of him. He is now putting in the effort to sound it out. Baruch Hashem, he's ata haresa with the letters. He's been given every letter. He knows what every letter's sound is. He knows how every letter looks. He is now writing every letter down, and Baruch Hashem, bli and hara, sounding out the letters and putting it together. It is a mental calculation he's doing based on the available knowledge. Taharesa. Lada'as. He's now learning to what? Likroa. To read. Did he just wake up in the morning and learn how to? No, this is a long process of learning to read. So how do we get to the point where it's ataharesa lada'as? By thinking of life from a different lens to understand that there is a 0% possibility that life was created randomly. Again, to think that this Boston Red Sox cup blew up randomly in a plastic factory right outside of Yawkey Way is a stupid way to think. This cup clearly had a designer, had a creator. It was created for a function, has a specific size. To think that to think that the world blew up from a dot. It's not only stupid, it is so criminal and sick. These people deserve to be in a mental institution if you don't believe that there's a God. I'm sorry if you don't know that there's a God. I spoke incorrectly. It's sick to live 70, 80, 90 years and never once say, I mean, we go so nuts when they're building, like, Elon Musk is building a robot. A robot? In a billion years! It's not going to last a billion years, obviously. The world lasts 6,000 years, and we're approaching 5786. But in a billion years, a human being would never be able to build something and then what? Put a soul into it. Now, I just read something the other day. I'm not happy these people exist, but it just makes for such like amazing fodder, and it makes for good stuff in Torah lectures. There's a woman that, at the height of Corona was basically like saying that anyone that doesn't get the vaccine basically deserves to like die. Like to not want to jab yourself with and again, this isn't like a vaccine. I'm just trying to show you cognitive dissonance, to show, and we're going to give 3 examples to show that the levels that human beings can twist anything to get as far away from la da'as as possible. Why? So they can live how they want to. So she said basically anyone that doesn't take this vaccine, you should never be able to leave your house again. Like you should just basically die. Then 2 years later, she says, I've developed a rare heart whatever from the vaccine, but I would take it again because complications from a vaccine you can treat, but not taking the vaccine is like deadly. This is called cognitive dissonance. When you are so set to a certain way that it's like such a blow for you that you find out this way is wrong. This is why the Talmud says that being a Baal Tshuva, being someone like me that returned to Judaism, who didn't grow up religious, stands on a level that even like the biggest rabbi can't stand. That's what the Talmud says. Why? It's so hard to admit we're wrong. I mean, what's easier? You're in an argument with someone. You're like doing a math problem or something. And you say to the person, you know what? You're right. You're right. No one ever says, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. They always say, you were right. Meaning you were right. I could also be a little right, but you were more right. No, I was wrong. It's very hard for someone to say, like I did at age 27 and a half, you know what? I am wrong. I am living life wrong. My rabbi is living life right. Might look strange to me at the beginning, but he's living life right. Why? Because I saw how happy he was. Just filled with simcha. And the words that he spoke they were calculated. No swearing, it was like speaking to like a malach. Why? Because he had such a knowledge of Hashem that you have to act accordingly. So what's cognitive dissonance in Judaism? I'm going to give you examples of cognitive dissonance to show you just how powerful Hashem created a human being. And why we're so different from the angels, and even on a higher level than the angels, when we act like it, when we merit it. Okay? In King Solomon's Song of Songs, he writes, I'm asleep, but my heart is awake. The voice of my beloved is knocking. I'm asleep, but my heart is awake. The Midrash understands that there are often 2 opposing forces within a person. One spiritually asleep and one awake. And brings the example that within a brief period of time, the Jewish people are involved in both the formation of the golden calf and then the building of the Mishkan. I am asleep. I built the calf, but my heart is awake. And then I built the Mishkan. But what came before we built the calf? We literally got the Torah, the pinnacle of creation. Okay. I'm going to show you just how hard it is to get Das. You might think, okay, Eliakim, I'm at the point where I know that there's a God. No, you don't. No, I don't. I know that there's a God, but not on the level that I would ever, want to be on. Why? Because I still do sins. If you're still doing Averos, then you don't know that there's a God to the highest level. You might be on the level where you know that there's a God, so you start observing the Torah and whatever. Angels don't sin because angels can't sin. They have no ability to go against God. If you've ever been around there was one rabbi in my yeshiva, his name was Rabbi Mashinsky, Oliver Shalom. He passed away from cancer. When he would give lectures, his demeanor was just, he literally looked like an angel. He would have his eyes shut, he would sway back and forth with just a look on his face of just pure joy that he's able to speak Torah. Every word that came out of his mouth was calculated. He was on a level of das that's just, why? Because he realized the power of every word that comes out of his mouth is like a new world. He could change a world. He could create a world. He could destroy a world with every word. And he was so careful. And you should have seen the simcha on his face. How hard is it to get das? Okay. Hashem led the Jewish people around by way of the desert to the Red Sea. And the children of Israel were chamushim when they went out of Egypt. Okay? Chamushim. It's a weird word. Chamushim means armed. We were armed when we went out of Egypt. I mean, okay. Rashi says something different. Rashi says chamushim is from chamishim. Chamishim means 50. 1/5 went out of Egypt. 4/5 stayed in Egypt. This is what Rashi says from the Midrash. Chamushim, 1/5. What does that mean? We had the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues only occurred in Egypt. They did not occur in Goshen, where the Jewish people were. They weren't Jewish at the time. They were Bnei Yisrael. Okay, but we'll call them Jews just for the sake of argument. The 9th plague came, which is the plague of darkness, and 4/5 of the Jewish people died in the plague of darkness. They did not leave Egypt. 1/5 chamushim is an allusion to 1/5. There's a shocking piece of history buried in the word chamushim. It's translated as armed, but it hints to an enormous tragedy, that 4/5 of the Jewish people perished during the plague of darkness. Only 1/5 of the people were ultimately redeemed. Rav Avigdor Miller, if you ever want to know what good hashkafa means, like a moral and ethical outlook on life is, go to Rav Avigdor Miller. Read his books, listen to his tapes, just straight line to Hashem. This is what he wrote. I'm not the historian to confirm or deny this, to endorse or challenge the veracity of this claim. But Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, not only were 4/5 of the Jews lost in the plague of darkness, but 4/5 of the Jews are lost in whatever the plague of darkness is in every single generation. 4/5 of the Jews died in the Holocaust. 80% of Jews now are intermarrying. 4/5 of Jews are always lost. Chamushim. Didn't just happen at the time of leaving Mitzrayim. Chamushim is here always. Why? Because of a lack of lada'as. People are not lada'as. They're not engaged in the verb to know. If you know that there's a God, how in the world can you marry a Jew? I mean, how in the world can you marry a non-Jew? How in the world can you intentionally break Shabbos? How in the world could you go out and eat pork? You can't do any of these things. Why? Because the more da'as you get, the more you're like an angel. The more you have free will, but your free will is so blunted because you have such a perfect view of Hashem. It's not possible to act any other way than just observing His Torah. What happened during the plagues? You have to understand, and I've mentioned this before, but I want to delve into it today. Because I don't think people, I always tell people, take a step back. But please, when I tell you to do this, do it. Listen, because this will help so much. Think about what happened during the 10 plagues. Okay? The 10 plagues were literally Hashem just bending nature, and it affected the entire land of Egypt except where the Jewish people were in Goshen. So just imagine that scene. Imagine sitting there, wherever you are in the world right now watching this, whatever street, block, county that you're in. Imagine if something is happening in every area around you, but not to you. Once, twice, 3 times, 8 times before the plague of darkness, okay? So imagine this, okay? First of all, why did the plague of darkness come in the first place? The sages tell us that in addition to functioning as a punishment for the Egyptians, the plague of darkness also served to hide an event that Hashem did not want the Egyptians to witness. Why did Hashem bring darkness? Because blessed be the holy name, blessed be the name of the Holy One, for there is no favoritism before him, who delves deep into the human mind and examines their thoughts. There were sinners in Israel who had patrons among the Egyptians, and they had wealth and honor there, and they did not wish to leave the land, meaning they were very comfortable Jews that were living in Egypt, and despite seeing plague after plague, overt miracles, stuff that was ataharesa on a level that you'll never be able to fathom, they still didn't want to leave. Which shows what? Ataharesa is not, it's not ataharesa da'as. If it was, these people wouldn't have died in the plague of darkness. It's ataharesa la da'as. I gave you the clues. You now need to la da'as. You now need to inculcate this and infuse this and embed this into your fiber of your thoughts, of your being, of your actions. But 80% of the Jews did not want to do that. They died in the plague of darkness. They saw the ataharesa. They did not do the lada'as. This should be terrifying to people. Hashem doesn't do miracles anymore. You know, the miracles of leaving Egypt, we acknowledge this daily, that there were miracles leaving Egypt. We have not had these miracles since. Even the people in the generation that are on a level we'll never imagine, that saw these miracles, ataharesa, they did not themselves lada'as. Why? Because they did not want to live a Torah lifestyle. And they blew it all. That's the power of the human psyche. We see this in everyday life. You know that smoking cigarettes is bad. There's not one person in the world that can honestly say, hooked up to a lie detector test, that smoking cigarettes, chain smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day is good. Yeah, you see, every single time I go into a grocery store or my colon in Israel, oh, can I have a pack of marbles, please? Bavakasha, bug. The lada'as to some is so clear. The more religious the person that you see, the more observant. I'm not talking about fake. I'm talking about like a Rabbi Mashinsky. He's on a level of lada'as and he acts accordingly. He's basically at the point, or what, of like an angel. He has no ability to, oh, well, you know, I just saw that lobster. It doesn't even occur to him because the lada'as is so entrenched and embedded in him. Why? Because he took the ataharesa. He took what he was shown and said, my gosh, look at all these plagues. Clearly there's a God. 80% did not do that. We see this in every single generation. There were Jews comfortable in Egypt that did not want to leave. The sages do not accuse these people of any kind of sinful behavior towards God or to their fellow man. Their entire wickedness is summed up in the fact that they just had no lada'as. They did not want to leave. Which means what? They didn't do the verb. All these things. Let's go through them. I mean, God, you need to understand. Because again, Hashem is telling you in the Torah, Ataharesa, I've already shown you. We know that every single Jew accepted the Torah, whether we were there or not. We know that in every single person's life, it doesn't matter, at some point in your life, you are obligated, whether it's just looking in the mirror, you're learning something in biology class, you're a doctor and you see something amazing about the human body, to go your whole life and not link that back to a creator is criminal. And there's a massive punishment for it. Not to mention the misery of this life. What were the plagues? First we have what? Dam. The waters of the land of Egypt were turned to blood. The smell, the offensive smell of the river. It was impossible for them to drink the water of the Nile. They tried to dig a deep trench in the ground for the water, but nothing worked. Even when they would steal water from a Jew, it would immediately turn to blood. So what do they have to do? Only when they paid the Jews did the water stay water. That's how one of the ways how the Jews became very rich. All the fish died. For a whole week, they were just dying of thirst. So again, I'm not talking about, forget about the Egyptian perspective. How about from the Bnei Israel perspective? Again, after everything that I read, I want you to think about, pretend that you're there right now in Egypt, 3,337 years ago, experiencing each and every one of these, and then contemplate afterwards that 80% of them said, not for me. I'd rather die in the plague of darkness than follow Hashem. You're on the border of Goshen in Egypt. You pour water into a cup. An Egyptian kid comes and steals that cup from you. He drinks it. The second that drink goes down his throat, it turns into blood. You see this. The Jews saw this. The Bnei Israel, they saw this. They saw that the border was untouched, and every time an Egyptian would drink, they saw this. All of them. Every single one of them saw. Ataharesa. They all saw this. Okay, number 2. Forget about Paro. We're not talking about Paro. We're not talking about... This is strictly from the Jewish perspective. How in the heck could 80% of our people see so clearly an overt miracle over and over again? This should show you how hard it is to know that it is a lifelong ladas. It is a lifelong verb. Frogs. Aaron stretched out his hand. Frogs came. They covered every inch of the land, entered houses, bedrooms, wherever an Egyptian turned, whatever he touched, there were slimy frogs. Croakings filled the air, jumped down their throats. They were literally everywhere. I mean, and if you didn't see one, the second you oh, that's not in my cup right now, the second you poured some water, it would appear. So again, you're a Jew, and you're on the edge of Goshen, and you're just on your patio. You're on your mirpesed, sitting there. It's 5 p.m, happy hour somewhere. You're having a strawberry daiquiri, and you're watching the carnage that's going on in Goshen, and not one single frog. I'm sorry, in the land of Egypt, and not one single frog comes into Goshen. Ataharesa. They were shown. What happened next? Kenim. Bugs, lice, everywhere. It was like a massive snowstorm of lice. Bugs crawled forth from the dust to cover the land. Man and beast suffered untold misery from this terrible plague. Paro's aides pointed out that this was surely Hashem's punishment. Paro's aides literally said, because what? The first 2 plagues, Paro's magicians could do, but they couldn't do Kenim. So after the 3rd plague, the Egyptian magicians finally said, okay, this is definitely from Hashem. But again, I'm not talking about the Egyptians. You got the Jewish people. Okay, they're not Jews yet, fine. Let's just, Bnei Israel, Jews. They're in Goshen. Again, you're sitting on your merpesah. You see that every inch of Egypt is covered in lice. Not one drop of lice is in Goshen. 80% of the Bnei Israel did not want to leave Egypt. Now, what happened next? Arov, wild animals. Some of these animals did not even exist in Egypt. They literally just appeared in Egypt. Let's just say that, Black panthers aren't native to Egypt. Well, they were that day. They were for that week. They can't. Animals that Egypt's never seen, they appeared. Again, it was a miracle. Fourth plague. Hordes of wild animals roving all over the country, destroying everything in their path. Only the province of Goshen, where the Jewish people dwelt, was immune from this, just like all the other plagues. So you're sitting there, again, on your merpesah. You're on your patio. And you look out and you see an animal you've never seen before in your entire life. You've grown up your whole life in Egypt at this point. And you see, again, like a black panther that's you've never seen before. And then you just see thousands of black panthers and thousands of other animals you've never seen before. They come for 1 week and they just destroy every single thing in Egypt. Yet not one of them crosses into Goshen. Now, 5, pestilence. A fatal pestilence that killed all of the domestic animals of Egypt. And the Egyptians they were grieving. They saw their horses, their stately horses, which were the pride of Egypt, all their cattle stricken. Some of these animals were their gods. They believe in the sheep was their god. So just sheep dying everywhere. And again, you're sitting on your patio in Goshen and you're looking out and you're just seeing carnage for a week. Not one animal died in Goshen. 6, boils. Just the entire Egyptian populace breaks out in boils, one after another. Just boils. And nothing worked. They put hot on it, nothing worked. They couldn't itch it, So again, you're sitting on your merpesah and you're looking out over Egypt and you're just seeing boils. Not one person in Goshen was stricken with boils. Number 7, barad, hail. It wasn't regular hail. What does the Midrash and the Talmud say? This was like ice and fire in one stone, basically. It was like vicious hail that just destroyed everything. Poured down with violence, deafening thunder. Lightning rent the heavens. The hail did its work of destruction. Man and beast who were exposed died on the spot. Herbs scattered to the wind. Trees shattered on the ground. But the land of Goshen was untouched by the ravages of the storm. Bloomed like a garden amidst the general devastation. So again, you're sitting on your patio and you're seeing this hail and the darkness, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a nice sunny day. And again, you're drinking your strawberry daiquiri and you peek over your patio and you see that your beautiful garden is just blooming better than ever that day. Yet you see just over the fence in the land of Egypt, carnage, just death and destruction from the hail. And what do? 80% of the Jewish people did not leave Egypt. What's number 8? Arbe, locust. You ever seen these videos of the locust swarms that I think one just hit Iran, one hit Saudi Arabia a few years ago? It's literally billions and trillions of locusts at the same time. So again, you're sitting on your patio. And what do the locusts do? The locusts literally came and ate up everything that was left. This is the one plague where the Egyptian advisor said, Paro, don't you know that Egypt is lost? So imagine this scene. You're sitting there and you're like, oh, dude, Hashem did, boils? Wow. Oh, dude, Hashem just did hail? Crazy. And then you're like, okay, I got dibs that there's a few little plants left. I guarantee the next one Hashem's gonna, and then he does. He brings locusts. And you're like, oh man, that's amazing. There's not one piece of greenery left in all of Egypt. And you're sitting there. Imagine what life was like for the Bnei Israel during that time period. They say that each plague lasted a week, and then it was a 3-week so we're talking like a 10-month period. What in the world was in the minds of the 80% that didn't leave? Do you understand how powerful Hashem created your brain? What did Hashem do? He created you with the ability to just ignore him for your whole life. And so many of you do. I did for 27 and a half years. I thought that there was a God. I mean, in my head, I knew that there was a God, but I didn't know God. What in the world? I mean, and then what happens? Choshech. Choshech comes, Choshech ends, and 80% of the Jewish people at that point had died. In Judaism, the Torah is central to knowing God. Like, the first way that we're supposed to be able to connect with God is through the Torah. That's why it says what? There's a very interesting Pirkei Avos that says if you're learning Torah and you are walking down the street and you say, like, what a beautiful tree. Look, a beautiful blossoming tree. That you're basically chayav for your neshama. Like, you should die. I remember exactly where I read this. I was in Strasbourg, France. I went there to date a girl. I remember exactly where I was. I was in a cab, getting from the airport to my hotel. And I remember reading this thinking, that's very strange. Because as I'm reading it, for 1 second, I looked out the window and I thought, you know what? The place where I am in France now is like open fields and I said, that's so weird. I've basically just been told that since I looked out the window and I'm I admired that field. It says you admire like a tree or like a field. You're chayav for your soul. Why? And people say, isn't it praiseworthy to see the wonders of God, to know God? No, because the first place you know God is in the Torah. To put the Torah down, to then, oh, look at that tree, like Hashem. If you learn Torah, you'll see the Torah makes a tree look like a speck of dust. A tree is nothing compared to the Torah. The Torah is essential to knowing God by revealing Hashem's wisdom, His will, and the path to a relationship with Him through the commandments that lead towards ethical living. Oh, but I'm a good person, Eliakim. Do you keep Shabbos? No. Do you eat kosher? No. Do you put on tefillin in the morning? No. Do you dress modest? No. Okay, so why are you a good person? Oh, because, I have a big heart and no. Do you think that Hitler thought he was a good person? Hitler thought he was doing amazing things for the world. Stalin, Mao, all of them think that they're great people. Well, Hashem is ultimately beyond human comprehension. That fact isn't, up for debate. The Torah encourages to seek God through studying His text, observing the commandments, observing how He created the world, performing the mitzvahs, and fostering a connection with Him. Again, we do not have a video of Hashem. If we had a video of Hashem, none of us would have free will. We do not have a video of the person that committed murder, yet we have billions and trillions of drops of evidence that you can know that this person was the murderer without having to see the video. I mean, literally, you see a guy leave a house with blood everywhere, a knife in his hand, a perfect motive, 50 witnesses inside that say this guy just came in and killed, on and on. I mean, just one after another. His DNA is under her nails, Just one thing after another. Oh, we don't know because we don't have the video. I mean, you can honestly say that you have reasonable doubt that there's a God. That's the stupidest way to live. Ataharesa, you have been shown everything. And again, the Torah was given to each and every one of us. So you'll say, well, that's not fair. I grew up in a non-religious household. I have two, lesbian mothers. I wasn't born to a rabbi. No. Torah says, Ataharesa, there's something in your life that you were shown. Ataharesa. I had so many, thinking back on my life, there were so many different instances where I could have changed my life, but I didn't. Why? I liked doing drugs. I liked doing whatever I wanted. I liked going out to parties and trying to pick up girls. I liked a lot of things that just, but I can't say there wasn't a Taharesa. That's, to think that Hashem you're born and at no point Hashem gives you the clues. You're all given the clues. The Torah speaks to all of us. When Hashem says a Taharesa, you've been shown everything. Wherever you are in the world right now, whatever level of Judaism you are, even if you're not Jewish, a Taharesa. Oh, but I was born to a really Catholic family, so I always believe in Cheese Whiz. He died for my sins. No, a Taharesa. There's so many things in your life. I mean, why do you think there's such a big movement now of converts and people like me becoming religious? Why? Because as the world slinks in lower and lower in morality, Hashem shows us more and more signs. Again, miracles come with a big cost. You don't want miracles in your life. A miracle comes with a big, big price. We're going to talk about this at the very end. Now, okay, we did one. Living through the plagues. Yeah. Again, just imagine that scene. Imagine just being on your patio. And you're like, you know what? I'm calling off work the next week because a new plague's here. I want to see these Egyptians suffer. Plague party, 6 p.m. on my balcony. Kegger. I mean, imagine that. I would have had just friends over, just sitting on the balcony and just, oh my gosh, look at that guy with boils. He was whipping us 2 months ago in the fields, and now look at him. And then you look around, there's not one guy with boils in the Bnei Israel. Taharesa, you were shown. What else is a Taharesa? And to me, this is an even bigger, if that's even possible. On the morning of the 6th of Sivan, 50 days after having left Egypt, and 6 days after they camped at the foot of Mount Sinai, which is on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which is my birthday, Baruch Hashem, the people of Israel awoke to thunder and lightning and a deep, powerful horn blast, shofar. As they approached Mount Sinai, they saw it ablaze, a thick cloud at its peak. Trembling in awe and fear, they gathered at the foot of the mountain as Moshe ascended to the top. Against this incredible backdrop, Hashem spoke the 10 commandments all together at one moment. You literally heard all 10 commandments spoken at one time. He then went on to repeat them one at a time. After the first 2 commandments, he enabled Moshe to transmit the rest. Because after each of the commandments, the Jewish people they died from the intensity of Hashem's voice. And Hashem subsequently brought them back to life. After that, they asked Moshe to be an intermediary for them. The reverberations of this communication went much farther than Mount Sinai. The earth itself literally trembled as Hashem communicated his presence to mankind. Not one animal made one peep during the 10 commandments. Now, we literally saw, again, put yourself in the shoes. This is like going to Foot Locker. We're going to be putting ourselves in a lot of shoes today. We just put ourselves in 8 plagues. Put yourself in these shoes. You're one of the Lada'asers that left Egypt at this point, right? You clearly knew that there was a God and you wanted to follow him. It didn't matter how much money you had in Mitzrayim or, You want it to follow. Okay? So, you left Mitzrayim. You're in the desert. 50 days later, after leaving Mitzrayim, you see something that the world has never seen before and has never seen since and will never see again. Literally Hashem just giving us the Torah in front of millions and millions of people. Imagine that scene. What happened 40 days later? Again, to show the power of the human brain. That you could use your lada'as for good, for tov, and for really, really ra, bad. So we just got the Torah. The most monumental act, event, incident in world history. 40 days later, what happened? When the people saw that Moshe was late in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron, and they said to him, "Come on, make us gods that will go before us, because this man Moshe, who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." I think the word that they use is we don't know. We don't know. This whole lecture is about knowing. What do the people say? We don't know. Why? They didn't want to know. Aaron said to them, "Remove the golden earrings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." The people stripped themselves of the golden earrings that were on the ears and brought them to Aaron. He took them from their hands, fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made it into a molten calf, upon which they said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." So again, the first of Sivan comes. Like the anticipation for the next 6 days until Shavuos, until you get the Torah is it's like palpable. Imagine that scene. And then imagine experiencing that. Imagine experiencing literally, they saw and heard the letters at the same time. That's what it said. They saw miracles. They literally saw Hashem. What happened? The angels came down and literally put 2 crowns on their head, because at that point we were eternal. There was no death at that point. After we got the Torah, 40 days later, it was the incident of the golden calf. Have you ever thought about that? It wasn't 2 generations later. It wasn't 1,000 years later. I mean, that's a little more understandable. Just the generation of each. 40 days after the Bnei Yisrael, at this point they became the Jewish people, got the Torah. After all the magnificent miracles that they saw, they then went and built a golden calf. What's the third just mind-blowing incident that shows that da'as is a lifelong verb? The whole point of this lecture is to show you that atah haresa, you were shown. Atah haresa, you were shown. You've been given every puzzle piece. You know what it's like? You ever watch Wheel of Fortune? And every letter is done except for one, and the idiot still says the wrong. Pat, I'd like to solve the puzzle. And then he says something, and the crowd's like, "You idiot, there's every letter there but one. You still got it wrong?" Hashem gave us every single puzzle piece in this world other than one, a video of him, an actual image of him. What does Hashem say? There's one thing that he did not grant to Moshe. Forget about that he could go into the land. He said, "You can't see my face," right? How do you know that you have a parent or a child? Or you see them. They're in front of you. It's something tangible. You can hug them. But Hashem is telling you, you have the same thing with me. Atah haresa. You have everything. Again, there's a murder, but you just don't have the video. But you have just every drop of evidence. You know that this person is the murderer. What's the third example? Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the congregation, saying, withdraw from the dwelling of Korach, Dasan, and Aviram. Moshe arose and went to the tent of Dasan and Aviram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He spoke to the congregation, saying, please get away from the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch anything of theirs, lest you perish because of all their sins. They withdrew from around the dwelling of Korach, Dasan, and Aviram. But Dasan and Aviram came out, standing upright at the entrance to their tents, together with their wives, their children, and their infants. Again, put yourself in the shoes of the people that are watching this. You've seen Moshe do every single thing that he said he was going to do. You saw him split the sea. You saw just miracle after miracle that he said it was going to happen and then happened. He then tells, get away from the tents of Dasan and Aviram, because Hashem is going to just destroy them like he's never destroyed anyone else in history. Yet Dasan and Aviram and his wife and their kids, they went out standing upright. What does that mean? Rashi says, they came out standing with an upright posture, defiantly, to insult and to curse. As in Goliath, he used to come and he would curse the Jewish people for 40 days. Moshe says to the whole congregation, get away from these wicked people because something really, really bad is going to happen. Not only did Das and Aviram say, okay, you know what? Let me use my Das and just say, okay, everything Moshe said he's going to do, he's done. He has a flawless track record. He's batting 1,000. What if there's a 0.01% chance that he's right? Shouldn't we, maybe apologize? We'll still hate him, but at least no. This, again, I'm trying to show you the power of the human mind, that you can take the lada'as in one or two ways in life. And there's only two paths, I'm sorry. I know that, my mom said it can be anything I want growing up. No. You either take the lada'as on a path to follow Hashem, or you're not following Hashem. That's it. There's nothing in between. You either follow the Torah or you don't. I'm not talking about every once in a while you slip up, you do an avera here or there. I'm saying there's two paths in life. Shlomo Melech said the same thing at Gehelas. You have one thing under your control: to fear God and observe his commandments, or to not. So you can take your ladas, you can take the knowledge, like the 80% that just didn't feel like leaving Egypt, to Jews that built the golden calf, and to Das and Aviram and their wives that just got swallowed up in a hole. Again, imagine these scenes. What was the burning bush? What was so powerful about the burning bush? What does it say? An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from within the thorn bush. But behold, the thorn bush was burning fire, but the thorn bush was not being consumed. If any one of you were walking past a tree that was totally on fire, but the tree was intact, what did Moshe do? Let me turn now, see this great spectacle, why the thorn bush does not burn up. Rashi says, what is he saying? Let me turn away from here. He was a shepherd for Yisro at this point. He was just shepherding sheep. He was I want to say run of the mill because I'm going to insult him, but he was just a shepherd. He saw something and said what immediately? Let me turn now. Again, shepherding a sheep, he sees a wondrous sight. And instead of walking past it or saying, well, that's a coincidence. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah. I feel like aliens could have also. He said, let me turn now and see this great spectacle. And then what? You have to understand this is so crucial. He sees something kadosh, divine, holy. But then he says something that you need to, literally make this the fiber of your being. Let me turn now and see this great spectacle. Okay? That point is, I feel like a lot of us would. But then what does he say? Why? Why does this thorn bush not burn up? Why? You go to the bathroom, holes open. Why doesn't every single one of your organs fall out? Here's my cup. If I poke a hole in here, you just see it dripping now. What if I poked a big hole in here? I'd spill all over the place. You go to the bathroom, holes open. Why doesn't every single thing just start pouring out of your body? Isn't that odd? If I prick my finger, blood comes out. Yet I go to the bathroom, why doesn't my liver just come out? Why doesn't my blood, heart, blood vessels? You ever asked yourself that question? Well, the sages did. So what do? There's a blessing we say after we go to the bathroom. What do we say? Hashem. Just went to the bathroom. Openings and cavities opened. Yet, I'm alive. All my organs didn't just come pouring out. Thank you. That's literally the blessing. There's actually a lot of doctors that became religious after learning this blessing. Why? I just said the word. Because of why. Let me turn now, see this great spectacle. Why does the thorn bush not burn up? Not one time in your life have you ever said, that's sort of weird. Every single thing in this world is male and female. Why? It's as if there's one creator. There's one purpose. Isn't that weird that there's one group in the entire world that's just, we're like the focal point of everything? They just butchered tens of thousands of people in Syria, not one peep from anyone in the world. A food truck gets blown up in Gaza. It's front page news. Why? Moshe said, let me turn now and see this great spectacle. The first part is that he actually acknowledged it. Some of you out there, you're not even close to the why yet. You don't even see the burning bush. There's so many burning bushes in your life. Why aren't you, let me turn now and see this great spectacle? Do you know what makes your eye work? I just read today that they just built like a bionic eye. You want a bionic eye? No. I want an eye that Hashem made me, that I can see, Baruch Hashem, Bli Anara, just vivid. Oh, what happened to Johnny? Yeah, he died. He had a blood vessel burst. How many blood vessels do you have? Got like a couple trillion? You ever ask why all these hundreds of trillions of things are working? It doesn't matter how sick you are. It's still a miracle that you're living. You have trillions and trillions of, hundreds of trillions of things working flawlessly in your body right now. Why? Ataharesa. Every single person watching this, I don't care how religious you are. I don't care what you're doing in life. I don't care. Ataharesa. You have been shown. You've been shown enough. Because it's cruel. It'd be cruel for Hashem to give no clues. It'd be cruel to Hashem to judge, someone that, again, that was born to lesbian parents that's actually halakhically Jewish, and that this person would be judged the same as the son of the biggest rabbi. So clearly in each of our lives, we have all been ataharesa. We've all been shown things. What we do with that is our schus in the next world and our life in this world. You want to see the burning bush and just say, Yeah, that's cool. And just, like that famous song, Walk On By, Carole King. Do you want to just walk on by your whole life? You want to see miracle after miracle and just walk on by? You want to see Hamas terrorists admitting that they shoot the rockets, they know where they should be going, but one of them said specifically, the God of the Jews does not let it get there? So how many people read this and said, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's cool to be Jewish. How many others said, why? How many others said, you know what? Let me turn now and see this great spectacle. Why? Why? That was Moshe's schus. He saw the burning bush. He took the time. Let me turn now. Look at this great spectacle. And then he asked, why? What's the purpose of this? Why am I shown this now? According to the Ibn Ezra, learning and wisdom are a ladder to ascend to the knowledge of God. Rav Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg says that knowing God means actively walking in his ways, such as doing the things that you know that Hashem loves, kindness, justice, and righteousness. Again, you can't possibly tell me that you know that there's a God when you're not following God. Then you do not know God. That's just a stupid thing to say. It doesn't make any sense. If you would logically take a step back and say, okay, I message Eliakim that I know that there's a God, but he makes a good point. How can I know that there's a God? Know what he says is the reward and the punishment. Know Jewish history. Know that there's clearly consequences. And continue to drive 150 miles per hour in a 30, knowing that a cop is right up the road. That means you don't know God. You're not in the again, lada'as is a verb. It's not like a one-time verb. It is a lifelong process of engaging in lada'as. And as you rise higher and higher, like the Ibn Ezra said, it's a ladder. As you rise higher and higher, what's the goal? The goal is that we become, animals act totally on instinct. Angels act totally on the knowledge of God. They have no free will. They see Hashem 100%. They're not at 99%. Why is Hashem's biggest enemy Amalek? What's Amalek? Safek, doubt. What is doubt? Doubt is not knowing. Oh, I know that this is true, but I have a little bit of a doubt. Why is Amalek literally Hashem says, I wage a war against Amalek from generation to generation. Why? Because Amalek is the lack of knowing. It's the lack of knowledge. It's safek. It's doubt. And we are commanded by Hashem to know, not believe, not, I trust in God. You can trust in God. I believe in God. You can believe in God. These are two components after you know that there's a God. You need das. You need to be actively engaged in ladas. That's why Amalek, people always say, what makes Amalek so, you think that there's maybe some others, like the Romans seem like they were worse, maybe the Babylonians. Why is Amalek worse? Because Amalek is the embodiment of not knowing. And the whole essence of everything is to know Hashem. So even 1% of a lack of knowing is Amalek. It's doubt. And that 1% just grows and grows and festers and festers until you're one of the 80% that didn't leave Egypt, until you're one of the ones that gave the gold to make the golden calf, or until you're like Dasan and Aviram that just said, maybe Moshe's wrong this time. It just got swallowed up in a hole. And I don't want that for you. That's tragedy. That's tragic. It's tragic to live life knowing that you were given every puzzle piece. Vanna White has turned every letter for you. and you're still getting the puzzle wrong? Why? Why? Why are you living this way? This is the question I asked myself. I had my burning bush moment. Do I wish it happened earlier in life? Yeah, but it happened when it happened. But what did I do? I started seeing that my life was not being lived correctly. Ask a rabbi, well, why do you live like this? Because I know that there's a God. Because only Hashem could have given the Jewish people the Torah. When you can prove this to yourself, you'll live just like me. This was his exact words. And I've spent the last 17 and a half years engaged in ladas. Am I perfect? No. Am I where I want to be? Not even close. But I'm in the verb. That's the whole point. Get in the verb. What happens when what's the whole point of this world? Why do people always say, if Hashem would just make one miracle for me, I'd be religious? No, you wouldn't. I just gave you 3 examples how unequivocally that is not true. I read a very bizarre story from the Talmud. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to read one of the parts of it again. There was a famous rabbi named Yossi from Yukris. He was so severe. He was on a level of da'as that just was almost unfathomable. Remember when I gave the lecture on the 2 worlds that you have to watch? Probably, if not the best lecture I've done, at least top 2. Rav Yossi from Yukris was basically in the first world that Hashem created. Hashem created 2 worlds, okay? He was on the world of Elohim. Strict judgment. Why? What's strict judgment? Yaakov asked Hashem, Elohim be with me, meaning strict judgment. Why? He had such a level of knowledge, of knowing Hashem. So what happened? What's the incident involving his son? One day, Rav Yossi from Yukras hired day laborers to work in his field. It grew late. He did not bring them food. The workers said to the son of Rav Yossi from Yukras, we are starving. They were sitting under a fig tree. This was not in season. Fig tree was totally empty. So the son said, fig tree, yield your fruits so that my father's workers may eat. The fig tree then yielded fruit, and the workers ate. Imagine the level the son was on that he could, pull this off. I mean, my favorite candy growing up was Sour Patch Kids and Swedish Fish. And I've just been waiting 17 and a half years for them to become kosher. Skittles became kosher in Israel, and that was great. Mike and Ike's are good. But honestly, if my son could say, Sour Patch Kids, get a kosher hechsher, and it happened, that would show that my son's on a very high level. I'd be very, very proud. I would be wicked excited that my son, not Yossi from Yukris, he wasn't happy at all. What did he say? In the meantime, the father came home, said to the workers, please don't be angry with me. I was engaged in a mitzvah, and until now I was traveling, and I couldn't bring you food sooner. I'm so sorry. And they said to him, don't worry, may the merciful one satisfy you just as your son satisfied us. He said to them, what are you talking about? They said, your son asked the fig tree to produce fruit, and it did. What did Rav Yossi from Yukris say to his son? My son, you troubled your creator to cause the fig tree to yield its fruit, not in its proper time. So too you will die young. And he did. Why? What was so calamitous about what the son did? The entire purpose of this creation is that we have bechira, meaning free choice. Every single one of us has free choice. We don't control our destinies. We have free choice over only one thing, whether we follow Hashem or whether we don't. I could say to you, I am making, tonight I'm making barbecue chicken at 5:30. But Hashem could have a very important phone call in store for me, and it's 5:48 by the time I start cooking. So we don't know the future. We have control over only one thing in this world, to follow Hashem or to not follow Hashem. We have atah haresa. Hashem gave us all the tools to know that there's a God and to want to follow him. What did Rav Yossi's son do that was so abhorrent in the eyes of his father? He took away the bechira of these workers. He made a fruit tree that was not in season, then give fruit. It was a miracle. He warped the world for these workers. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi said, you don't have a right to exist anymore. These workers saw a clear-cut miracle. What they did with it it's not relevant. We see miracles every single, you are a miracle. Again, like people always say, oh, there's like hundreds of billions of sperm. Just the fact that I'm here shows that I already won the lottery. It's not a joke. It's true. You were created, again, like my best friend in Israel, his restaurant, they do like custom crafted sandwiches. It's a sandwich. They're the best sandwiches in Israel, but it's like, everything has to be craft these days. Craft beer, craft this, custom crafted sandwich. What do you think you are? Even if you're a twin or a triplet, you're still custom crafted. I don't care if you look identical. You're a totally different person than your twin. We have been given every possible sign from Hashem on our levels, no matter where we are in life, no matter what path of religion that we're on. We have all been atah haresa. Whether we are doing the lada'as, the engagement in the verb to know, which is a lifelong process, and you never get there, is up to you. That's the only thing in your life that's up to you. Sorry, not sorry. That is called bechira. And Hashem you don't want miracles in life, because then the level of judgment on you is so much more severe. And I proved this in that lecture of the two worlds. When mercy came into the world, when more miracles came into the world, the severity of the punishment becomes bigger. Why? Because we should know better. When your parent tells you growing up, you should know better. Why? That means atah haresa. Whatever the parent is telling you, you put your hand on the stove. You do it one time. Okay. You do it again, atah haresa. You should know better. Why? You put your hand on the stove once, idiot. Don't do it again. Clearly there's a cause and effect here, so don't do it again. Thinking back to how I lived for the first 27 and a half years of my life it's mind-blowing to me now as my level of da'as has gotten bigger. And God willing, I'd love to, 17 and a half years in to the point where, I'm Baruch Hashem, on the path of Lada'as. God willing, in 17 and a half years, I'd like to look back and say, wow, Elliot, you were on like a nice level then, but gosh, you're on even way higher level now. That's the goal. We're supposed to just be, life's supposed to be an elevator up to the top. There's no steps in the Beis HaMikdash. There's a ramp. Why? Because a ramp, you're either going up or down. That's life. Take this lecture. Think about it. Think about it hard. Put yourself in the shoes. See what it was like in Egypt, or, getting the Torah and just seeing how, not just how powerful your brain is, but how powerful your Yetzer Hara is. That some people can twist, non-Torah observance into a mitzvah. Hashem would much rather have me drive to shul on Shabbos than not do it, even though it's totally breaking Shabbos, and there's no dispensation for that anywhere in the Torah. Atah haresa, you were given every single puzzle piece that you need. Life is literally, are you going to put the puzzle piece together and live according to it or not? That's it. Everything else in life is just details and things that drain time. I thank my sponsor. If anyone is interested in the Torah MS project that we're going to start doing, which is anyone that sponsors a lecture a month, we're going to do 2 more intimate lectures a month of just my sponsors. And these are very powerful people. These are people that get it. That these are people from all different walks of life, levels of observance, converts, that just a taharesa they saw, and now they're in the process of lada'as. And I'm telling you, you don't want to be around people that are not in the process of lada'as. And when you're around them, it's powerful, because it's like, it's like when you're listening to a song and everyone's just grooving. I mean, it's powerful. It's powerful talking to my beloved sponsors every day and seeing how they're growing, seeing different books that they're buying, seeing how they're changing the way that they value time and life. And I literally just gave you the whole secret to life. Ataharesa, you were shown every possible clue. It's like a board game. You've been given every possible clue. Who's the murderer? You were shown every single thing with OJ and the bloody glove and his DNA and every single thing. Did you have a video of him killing the 2 people? No, but we know that he's the murderer, 100%. Hashem has given us literally an infinite amount of proofs, of miracles, of just divine wisdom, inspiration, things that we cannot ignore. Are you going to spend the rest of your life walking past that burning bush and either ignoring it, saying, oh, that's cool, or are you going to do what Moshe did? Not just turn aside, but then say, why? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And who am I ultimately going to be? And everything is up to you, and it all starts from Lada'as. Wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day.